What is up, my dear friend, and welcome to the Happy Heart Academy podcast. I am your host, Tyler Joe Stratton, and today we are going to help you work through this big idea. We're going to help you understand how you can begin to actually move on from your heartbreak so that you can create happiness during your singleness. And today is the day that you're going to actually not only acquire the knowledge, but take action upon this knowledge. And I hope that this ultimate success formula is going to help you to get out of the place of feeling stuck and unable to a place of movement and able. And I hope you find this podcast episode helpful, encouraging, supportive, and uplifting like always. I'm so grateful that you're here with me today. If you're watching on YouTube, welcome to the YouTube space. I am starting to record my podcasts and deliver them also on the YouTube social media. So that's kind of exciting. I don't know. It's a new thing. I'm not used to it, but nonetheless, I'm glad that you're here wherever you're tuning into. I am just grateful that you've decided to tune into me with me today as we continue to step more toward our happiness and toward our healing. And today, like I said, I want to give you this formula that I found for myself to be very helpful and that my clients have also found to be very helpful in their own lives. And I think this formula is going to really help you to create personal momentum, personal power, and reclaim your life, because I'm putting your life and your future into your hands today. And it all begins with a decision, okay? In order for us to reshape our lives, we must be willing to take massive action. If we want to move out of a state of unhappiness and to reclaim our happiness in our life during our heartbreak period, during our singleness, then we must learn to take massive action to get us out of that mental, emotional, physical, spiritual place of depression, loneliness, hurt, whether that's physical, mental, emotional, to put us into a place of happiness, creativity, purpose, love, and enjoyment and fulfillment. So that's all possible. It's absolutely possible, and it can change just like that. In a snap of a fingers, it can change, all because it first requires you to make a decision. But like I said, the most powerful way for us to shape our lives is to take massive action. But there's a step before that we must all take if we truly want to begin to move on and create happiness after this heartbreak. And that step before action is decision. In order to reclaim your happiness, in order to create that thing that you really want to create in your life, whether it's the relationship, whether it's the finances, whether it's the bank account, whether it's the healing or the whatever it may be, your heart must truly commit to deciding that that's what you want. You see, the reason why a lot of you are not currently moving on is really because you haven't made a committed decision to do so. You see, the decision to move on means that you have no other option, that there isn't a hopeful future of, if they come back, I will take them back. You see, a lot of you can't move on because you're still holding on to this potential idea that if they were to text you in 2 weeks, 3 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now, 3 months from now, and they apologized and they said, hey, I really miss you. I've been thinking about you and my life can't go on without you. What we had was beautiful. It was fun. It was exciting. And I made a huge mistake. And I'm just now realizing that. And, I just kind of want to let's talk. Let's just see where things go. If that were to take place, you would be jumping right back on that horse. And that, my friends, is the reason why you can't move on. And you haven't burned all ships. You haven't burned all ties. You haven't been acting from a place of like, there is no return. Absolutely no return. No matter what they say can do or will do in the future, will I ever go back to my ex, period. Like my ex could come back to me tomorrow and tell me how much she, is sorry, how much she loved me. Yada, yada. I wouldn't care. I'd be like, oh, okay, well, thanks for letting me know. But what do you want me to do about this? Like, I don't want that past in my present, period. Like, that's the committed decision I made. In order for me to heal my broken heart, I had to commit that I will never go back to my ex, that I believe that there's a better hope-filled future that God has in store for me, a better partner for me, a better wife for me, than my ex that I had in the past. And which is true. I chose to believe that what was to come was greater than what was left. And now I'm happily married to the love of my life and just in a beautiful and loving relationship with her. And it's just awesome. It's been freeing, it's been friendly, it's been spontaneous, it's fulfilling, abundant, loving, joyful. There's been some rocky roads in the past 5 years now, but things always get a little rocky. It's life. You're always going to hit a rock on the way of the path of the water that you take, right? It doesn't matter where you're going. There's always going to be a rock, but nonetheless, let me talk to you today about the important part of making a committed decision. And you see, deciding to produce a result of, let's say, happiness. Like, you want to feel peace and happiness during your singleness so that you don't have to rely on someone else to bring that into your life. Deciding to produce a result causes events to be set in motion. If you simply decide what it is that you want and get yourself to take action, to learn from it, and to change your approach to it, then you will create the momentum to achieve the results that you seek. Now, if making a decision is so simple and powerful, then why are not many people following the Nike's, slogan and advice of just do it? Well, I think there's two big reasons why you haven't learned to commit and make a committed decision, and why you haven't been able to move on is because you haven't made a committed decision. The reason why you haven't made a committed decision is because I think one of the simplest reasons is that most people don't recognize what it means to make an actual real decision. We don't realize the force of change that a congruent, a committed decision can create for our lives. That's one of the first big things that I think a lot of people, why people can't commit to a decision. Like, I can't commit to moving on because you don't really recognize what it means to make a real decision. And I'm going to talk about what it means to make a real decision in a moment. But before I do that, I need you to understand that the second reason is because many of us use the term decision so loosely that it comes to describe something like a wish list. Instead of making decisions, we keep stating preferences. Making a true decision, my friend, is about cutting off any other possibility. In fact, the word decision I have here in front of me comes from the Latin roots de, which means from, and cadere, which means to cut. So making a true decision means committing to achieving a result. You're committed to achieving one result. Happiness after this heartbreak. I want to be able to reclaim my life and my happiness after this heartbreak so that I'm not so reliant upon my partner to bring that to me. That's the committed, that's the result that we're seeking, right? So what I'm thinking here is that ideally, if you want that result, you need to then cut yourself off from any other result possible. Does that make sense? Like, for example, you won't be able to get over your ex or move on from your painful past if you still hold on to the hope that if they did say they were sorry and they changed the way that they were, that you would take them back. Because the truth is that the results, you're not making a true committed decision. That's the truth. If there is a but in your committed decision, like, I am committed to my happiness, Tyler, I'm committed to moving on, I'm committed to creating happiness after this heartbreak and reclaiming my life and being able to be a powerful me and improve myself and to live a life full of love, joy, happiness. But unless my ex comes back to me and says, hey, I'm sorry, and I hope you forgive me, and I hope that we can work things out because I really loved you, if you still hold on to that hope, you're not going to be able to move on ever. And if your ex does not come back to you, you're screwed. You're absolutely screwed. You're going to stay stuck forever. You're going to stay stuck. You're going to close your heart off. You're not going to feel good. Like, we've got to change that, my friend. We've got to change that. We've got to be able to move on. We've got to be able to let go. We've got to be able to create some hope. We've got to be able to make a committed decision so that we can begin to feel better today. If only you made the true committed decision to cut off all ties of the hopeful future of, like, getting them back, you would be able to move on. And that's my truth. If you just understood that, like, understanding what a true decision means, it's like, I've decided to cut off all other possibilities, that this is the only possibility, then you will be able to act in a way that will allow you to take massive action to improve the quality of the life that you live. That's it. That's the secret. That's the idea. But I'm going to give you 4 clear steps for you melancholies that, like, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and step 5, yada, yada, yada. I think that will be helpful for most of you, but just understand that the reason why you cannot commit to a committed decision is because you don't realize the force that can come once you are in a congruent, committed decision to a very foundational, strong, clearly defined result that you're after. And secondly, you believe that a decision is more like a wish list, more like a preference, more like if this happens, cool. If this doesn't happen, well, then cool. You know, I'm not saying that's a bad way of life. I'm just saying that you're not going to be able to move on as quickly as that you would like to if you didn't make that strong, committed decision. So I encourage you today, my friend, to make a strong, committed decision on a hope-filled future, one that cuts off all roads that lead back to the past. That's step 1. Okay. So in order for you to move on from this heartbreak so that you can create happiness during your singleness, there's these 4 big steps that I want to give to you today. The first step that you must take is you have to clearly decide to commit to yourself, to what you want and who you want to become. You have to clearly decide to commit yourself to what you want and who you want to become along the way. So if you want to move on, you have to clearly choose to commit to this one specific result of what you want, which is what do you want right now more than anything? You want to find a sense of empowerment. You want to find a sense of, like, I want to be okay by myself. Like, and what does that look like? Well, that looks like me being able to be alone in my house and not sad. That looks like me being able to go out in public again, go to restaurants by myself and not be like, I feel like I need somebody. Like, I don't have to distract myself from my true life. That's kind of what we're searching for. Okay. Perhaps that might be it. Yours might be something else, but understand you have to commit yourself to what it is you truly want and cut off all ties for any other possibility. And then you have to decide who you want to be. This is really important. This is actually what moved me away from my breakup. I'm like, I didn't like that I was someone who was often triggered. I didn't like to be someone who was responsive. Like, I would respond or react rather than respond. I was very reactive to situations. I would be very angry. I would yell and raise my voice in my past. I would call names. I would make them question their loyalty. I would make them question the relationship. I would be like, all right, if you do this, we're done. Like, I would always threaten the relationship. I didn't like who I was, and it was because I was really angry inside. So I didn't like the anger that was inside. Heck, for many of my years, because of my parents' divorce and the things that we grew up with, dealing with and going through and seeing and whatnot, I went through a lot of years of counseling and anger therapy, just trying to work through the anger and making sure that there's a place of peace rather than anger, a place of love rather than hurt. And I didn't like that I was always in pain. I was always angry. I was angry at myself. I was angry at my parents. I was angry at love. I was angry at God. I was angry at everything. So deciding who I wanted to become and what I wanted to become, like, I wanted always to be the life of the party kind of guy. I wanted to bring the joy. I wanted to be happy. I wanted to be the happiest person everybody knew if they knew me. Like, they're like, Tyler's always the happiest guy, happiest go lucky guy, like not even a care in the world. Like, he's just so fun to be around. Like, he brings the life, he brings the joy, he makes you feel excited about life, yourself, you know, the future. That's who I wanted to be, and that's who I aspire to become. So I clearly decided that I wanted to be happy single. I wanted to heal my anger issues so that I could aspire to be a joy-filled person. That was step number 1 for me. Step number 2 is be willing to take massive action to become that and to achieve what you want. It wasn't through hope and prayer that I was able to become a confident writer, a coach, a married man, because my past told me, like, listen, marriage is a 50% plus failure rate. I am not going to get married. It's just, why go through the same suffering that I went through when I was a kid, when I was physically, emotionally, spiritually wounded by my parents' divorce, that I never wanted to get married. I am so grateful that I'm married now. I wouldn't want it any other way. It's the most beautiful blessing, God-given gift I hope that many of you can experience in your lifetime. And so you have to be willing to take massive action is step number 2. Know what you want is step number 1. Step number 2 is to really understand the massive action that you can take. So, for example, my friend, if you want to create happiness during your singleness, one massive action, step that you can take to create happiness during your singleness is to singleness to me means being alone and without something outside of yourself bringing you happiness. That means like you've got to figure out what makes you happy, understanding what happiness is. So that meant to me, my massive action was to spend more time alone. And one place that